Our next speaker, a founder director of Think Street Technologies, has over 25 years of experience and established innovative high growth initiatives at large MNC corporations, including Silicon Valley based startups. He's had several management positions at HP, HCL Infosystems, Digital Equipment, Entrasys Networks, and also been a director for India and Middle East region at Nokia. An electrical engineer from BMS College, and also completed an executive education from the Harvard Business School. I am pleased to welcome Uday Birje to deliver his speech on innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm sure all of us will be excited to understand how innovation and entrepreneurship will help us in our project management. Presenting you, Sri Uday Birje.
Happy afternoon. You know what is the single most desire of every human being, irrespective of the age? Happiness. So why are you shy to be happy? You know, you look at any ad, Vodafone or Nokia, everything revolves around happiness. You look at it, I mean, there will be some word which says happiness. So let's have happy afternoon once again. Happy afternoon. Fantastic. So actually, I don't have the background of Pinkesh. I am a lot more, I would say, humble. I'm sure he is also humble, but I'm saying, what I meant is I'm a lot more conservative and old-fashioned, but I'm talking on a little bit of a futuristic topic, which is, I think it's creative, okay, innovation, especially innovation. And if I can describe what Pinkesh has done so far, I think he's built a beautiful, fantastic palace, okay? So what I'm going to do is build the pathway to reach the palace. So let us see how we can do that. So before that, as I said, innovation is a creative topic. There is no single definition for innovation. He's already talked about it. By the way, I was, after looking at Pinkesh's presentations, I thought I should cut down about a few slides. So I cut down from 320 to 280 slides. So truly, innovation, entrepreneurship, and I'll touch upon a little bit about leadership. All these are full-fledged semester courses in some of the institutes I studied. Okay, so obviously I cannot take so much time. I have about 35 to 40 minutes. So I have about 30 to 40 slides, but I will go through that, and I'll try to make it as interactive and as, let's say, responsive as possible. So before we truly start, I came early, not earlier than you, but early for me. So I was just going to the bookstore, and I saw a number of books. The first, or the few books that I saw, most of the books were about innovation, and I saw some books on entrepreneurship, and I saw a great book, which is possibly almost like a Bible for me. So this book I'm going to give you to one of the person who answers most creative question, gives a most creative answer to a question asked. So can you tell me, in your own word, don't Google up quickly or whatever, what is innovation? So I think there are some mics. So I had actually requested some mic. So three of you, just raise your hand and then we will ask, okay. So just randomly, I think if you can give the mic. So what is innovation? Please give the most creative answer. Don't say innovation is invention or whatever. So whoever has the most creative answer gets this book by the biggest innovator in the world.
Giving a missed call, the most innovator.
Sorry?
Giving a missed call.
No, I'm asking for a definition, not an example of innovation. No, I took a shortcut today. That is also innovation. While driving to avoid traffic.
Adapting for new changes, considering the future requirements.
Okay. Adapting for new changes, considering the, let's say, future requirements. Second one. So anybody can raise the hand. Second. Please, move to the other side as well.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Commercialization of the new ideas.
Commercialization of a new idea, which means you make it practical or viable for it to be deployed in the market, right? Whatever your idea. Not creative.
Imagination in practice?
Imagination in practice. Was it the third one? Imagination in practice was the third or the second answer? Third. Okay, let's end it there. I think imagination practice is the closest I can think of. Though, I mean, it can expand further. Maybe, yeah, one more, but no prizes for you.
Out of box thinking. Out of box thinking.
Discovering your inner self to find something which is useful for the mankind.
Discovering the inner self to find something useful for the mankind. It's a beautiful definition, but I can't give you the prize. I think the prize goes to imagination into practice. I think that can be expanded further, but I think that is the shortest and I think the most creative. So can you just come and pick it up fast? What's your name?
Abhishek
From?
from Cisco in Bangalore.
Oh, Cisco has always been my biggest competitor. So I'm giving it to the competitor. I'm very happy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What is innovation? I think more like a textbook in an explanation. Innovation is the process of an outcome of creating something new which is of value. Okay, I think there have been fantastic innovations which have never seen the market. Okay, it has never been useful, but great innovations. But something that is useful to mankind, I think somebody said useful to mankind, I think that is, you can say it's a innovation that is of use to people or businesses or the economies or whatever. So innovation is not just about creating a new software or a hardware or a new chip or whatever. It goes to the entire process. There can be innovation in the process itself, innovation in project management. Okay? So, by the way, I just forgot to mention, I think this is my first presentation to such a big audience of project managers. And I've had, in my 30 years career, maybe I've had about 300 to 400 project managers reporting to me. So most of the presentations or the meetings have been in closed doors. So I have to be careful about what I talk here. So the next sort of, again, a textbook explanation is innovations comes about through new combinations made by an entrepreneur resulting in a new product, a new process. As I said, does anybody think there is any innovation in Flipkart over, let us say, Amazon? Just raise your hands. Anybody thinks Flipkart has innovation? Only two. That means not good enough. So definitely they have some innovation in the way they address customers. I really don't know the details, but they definitely have some innovation which was Amazon. So which means it is not just about the idea alone. You can innovate in so many different areas. Okay? A new process, opening of new market. New market can be, people addressing a new set of age group with a different, let's say, flavored product. That can be innovation as well. So a new way of organizing the business, new sources of supply. So this is not exhaustive. This is like more like a textbook kind of a explanation of where innovation can happen. Okay? So let me go back to the slide. So anybody can, do you know which is considered the biggest innovation in the last 30 years? Sorry? Huh? iPhone. Internet is like more like a big answer, global answer. Huh? Mobile phone, okay, it's not a great innovation, but whatever research I have done, whatever people I have talked to, both in the US, mostly so many, I worked for a company which invented so many things, DEC, digital. I think a few people have worked in DEC before. They were part of the committees or the whatever which invented the internet. But the real invention happened, or the innovation happened by the World Wide Web, WWW. This guy from MIT, which converted that internet into something more useful. There's no point in just having some data flowing from one place to another. So without WWW, we would not have been here at all, right? So this is practically considered, I mean, there is obviously no, if you do some kind of a research, The World Wide Web is considered as the biggest innovation or the invention seen in the last 20 to 25 years. Okay? So I'm not trying to advertise Apple or Steve Jobs or whatever. This is for me, last 1 year I have been talking about innovation in so many different places, from the most humble of institutes to the biggest, okay? I have been using this as almost like my opening slide. How many of you want to be followers? Follower. So how many of you want to be leaders? Okay, much better. So I think leader means not necessarily like a manager leader. Of course, it is important, but leader in the industry, leader in whatever you're doing, leader in your business. Let me tell you, only if you innovate, you'll be a leader. Otherwise, you'll always be a follower. Okay? So you'll always be a follower. You will always have that handicap that you have to catch up with somebody. Okay? Of course, there's no harm in being a follower, like we talked about. I think Flipkart is a follower. They're doing extremely well. Ola is a follower. They're doing extremely well. Okay? There's no harm. But Uber, Amazon, look at the kind of significant lead they have just because they innovated. Apple, their market worth is 1/4 of, I think 1/4 or 1/3 of India's GDP. They became the most valued company in the world just recently. Okay? So this, it works like a mantra for me. I wake up in the morning, I always think, how can I innovate on something that I'm doing today? Okay? By the way, I do all these great presentations on innovation. I go back home, my daughters tell me, Papa, you are outdated. So that's I think the next generation talking, they're still not happy with whatever they're seeing today. So some of the drivers for innovation, there could be various reasons. You're not happy with the features. There are financial, some products may be, too expensive. I think anybody who can make a product cheaper than the iPhone with the same features can be called an innovator. But there has been nobody who can come close to an Apple iPhone. Okay? So obviously because of the lead that they have, they continue to rule the world. So demographic, social and market changes, rising customer expectations, always there are expectations of new features. So innovate and add new features. Okay? Disruptive innovation. Has anybody heard of disruption? Okay, great. How many of you read books? Fantastic. The real books or the Femina and Filmfare kind? Last 10 to 12 years, I am seeing, earlier I used to see, on flights, if you see great, all kinds of distinguished people, fantastic books, some of them old, some of them new, reading that. But now I see that people, Kindle and, whatever various versions of other companies, they just open up and read the books. Significant disruption of the market itself. Okay? The bookstores, many of them are in bad shape. Because nobody wants to buy books nowadays. Everything is online or everything is on the tab or whatever. I think Pinkesh talked about Uber. I've been fortunate enough to have some very, very high net worth friends. Okay? They have all kinds of S-Class and, Monteros and Pojeros and all in India. Many of them are rusting at their home because they don't feel like taking them out because of the kind of difficulty they have to go through in traffic and parking and things like that. So Uber is another company which has completely disrupted the transportation market. That is called disruption. Okay? Same, I think, do you people still read newspapers? How many of you read newspapers? So somebody, I think my friend Raghu told me there are 800 people here. So 800 people are all old-fashioned. So the same kind of gathering I addressed in IIM Bangalore about 2 months back. There were about 400 odd people. I asked the same question. They were all in the age group of 20 to 30. Out of 400 people, only 40 people raised their hands. I think even I don't read the newspaper at all. I just catch up when I'm driving or go to office or on the flight or whatever, either on the tab or the phone or whatever. So I think newspaper industry is really going through a difficult time. Okay, this is not my graph. This is the graph of the US market. I know there are different graphs for Indian market, which is all, I don't want to comment too much on that, but this is what is happening in the US market. Newspaper revenue is going down, apart from the fact that their credibility is also going down. So here, Economist, I think, ran a cover page article. Who killed the newspaper? Any answer? Who killed the newspaper? Huh? Internet is very general. Social media. Somebody, okay, here. Today, Google has more ad revenues than most of the newspapers. Nobody wants to advertise. You see Times of India, Pan Parag, real estate, this thing, that thing. Real companies, they don't want to advertise on newspapers. Most of them go to digital marketing. They use the digital online media. Okay, so this is the reality. So even, let us say we are all average 40 plus kind of an age here. Another 50 years we are going to read newspapers. But our younger generation has already stopped. All these devices, you're familiar? How many of you are still using any of them? If any of you are using this, I think you should come to the VIP seat. So all these devices have been replaced by these next generation companies or technologies. I think single iPhone has replaced so many devices. Sony Walkman is dead. Okay, you know that obviously. Similarly, Netflix. Again, coming back to the younger generation, my younger daughter is in 10th, so she had almost like a 3-month break. Study holidays, this holidays, that holidays, everything until the exams, till April, 4 months. First thing when they gave study holidays, she went and bought a subscription of Netflix. So I checked whether it is a phenomena of only my daughter or some of my other friends. Everybody's house it is the same. So Netflix, these kind of applications are really going to take over the entertainment market. Pinkesh talked a little bit about this. I think this is an expanded version. You know that Facebook doesn't have a single inventory of all the, they don't have any inventory at all. Similarly, Uber doesn't own any cars, Ola doesn't own any cars. Alibaba is the same. It's a marketplace. They don't have any inventory. Airbnb. Again, giving my personal example, I have a trip coming to Mangalore, which is like, B-town, let's say a class 2 city. And my daughter wants to take a break during that Independence Day weekend. I think it's a long weekend. So around the same time, I also have to go to Mangalore. So I was frantically calling on the phone and mobile phone and whatever and this thing. Then she came and said that I already booked. She used Airbnb and booked. So I was struggling the whole day. So the next generation, I think, is already far ahead. They're already using some of these technologies. I think we, because of the culture that we have brought up, some of this, we are still comfortable with the conservative kind of applications. So I was talking earlier about the market cap. This has gone up significantly. Apple, the only reason is because they are a leader, because they are innovating. I know there are many questions around the, how they are progressing or whatever, but I think very clearly innovation means you become a leader. Companies to watch. You're familiar with many of them, right? Snapchat, Tesla. Tesla is really, you know, we talk about Snapchat and Apple and all. Tesla in the energy segment, I think they are doing significant amount of work, especially also in the space research. Really innovating on a day-to-day basis. The kind of markets that they are going to take over, like Amazon. Amazon isn't everything. They are into, like, you know, shipping, Amazon. I don't know if you're aware, but Amazon is into shipping. So this is one slide which says digital Darwinism is the evolution of consumer behavior when society and technology evolve faster than the ability to adapt. Which means, my own example, technology has really, really advanced, but you know, adaptability is still a question. Okay? So many people are still struggling with adaptability. All of us are still, many of them, I think, you know, maybe definitely as you get senior, we are not able to accept that Uber is I know here only a couple of friends I was talking. I said I came, same area, I came in 30 minutes. That person took 1 hour because he wanted to drive in his Mercedes-Benz. Okay, so because they're still not able to adapt culturally. So I'll just give a quick, a few slides you may have seen in Pinkesh's presentation. I think technology trends here, Internet of Things. How many of you are involved in IoT development or whatever? IoT? Just few hands. IoT is, definitely is, I think is going to take over our day-to-day lives significantly. Everything, right from I think some examples you heard, from the time you wake up in the morning to go back to bed, I think you would have used so many applications that are all driven by IoT. It's a fantastic technology. But still, I think it is still in the maturity stage. You must have heard about smart cities. Many of the smart cities, I think IoT is being deployed. Drones. Anybody has used a drone? Okay. These days, if you go to marriages, especially a little bit of the North Indian or the lavish kind of marriages, they're all using drones to photograph their marriages. Fantastic. That's the simplest. And in fact, I'm fortunate enough to be part of the Karnataka government startup committee. Recently, we evaluated something like 100 companies. And in that, about 30 of them were agri-tech. In that 30, 20 of them were drone-based, which means to spray pesticides, to soil testing, so many other applications. I think India is a huge, huge potential for drones. It's not just about photography or whatever. Huge intelligent applications can be deployed using drones. Yeah, here, I know there are some people from the construction industry as well. Agriculture, defense. I was at the Aero Show. Anybody was at the Aero Show here earlier in January? Yeah. So there were a couple of companies. One was, I think, from Chennai, which had drones, which can fly in the air for 8 hours without battery charging. 8 hours is a long time. 8 hours, which means if it can be deployed in all the high security defense locations, think about it, the kind of security it can provide. Great application. That's just one of them. Agriculture. A lot of farmers are having health issues only because of pesticide use, because they use it with hand or whatever. Those issues will go away if you use drones in agriculture. I think Pinkesh gave an example. I have another example. Somebody in US told me that, they are developing an application on virtual reality where they can enjoy sitting in Los Angeles, enjoy Diwali in their parents' house, without really, being there. So virtual reality is another huge potential and, next generation technology. Artificial intelligence and robotics. I'll give you one more example of robotics. As I told you, I was in the Karnataka government committee. I'm still continue to be in that. And there is one company, you know all these archaeological sites, right? I mean, all the temples and Taj Mahal or Hampi, these kind of sites. So typically a foreigner or anybody who doesn't know the local language comes, what you do is, you hire a guide and he or she comes along with you for maybe 1 or 2 hours. Okay? Karnataka government is right now experimenting with a true robot. Robot means like a humanoid who will come with you, and through an app you just set up the robot with whatever language you speak, and the robot will accompany you for the entire 1 hour, 2 hours tour of the Hampi site. Karnataka government is already doing that. And there is a company right in Bangalore developing the humanoid for this. So, and I know, I don't know if you're aware, HDFC has already replaced, in 4 branches, they have replaced receptionists with humanoids to answer the first level questions. Smart city, I think is a huge potential. You know that Bangalore was awarded just the smart city just recently, okay? So huge potential for IoT and various other applications, next generation technologies to be deployed. Smart city is something which you will continue to hear over the next, especially the new government, maybe if they come into power over the next 4 or 5 years as well, the next 10 years, smart city will be a huge, huge potential, and the biggest thing that will happen, which will change our behavior culturally. SMAC, do you know, has anybody heard of SMAC? This is like a short term for all the buzzwords that we hear. If you rearrange it, it can become scam also. So, all our strategies and technologies revolve around these: social media, mobility, analytics, and cloud. Smart transportation. I know there are a few people from the transportation. I was really, privileged to be part of the team that set up the Konkan Railway. E. Sridharan was the chairman at that time. It was 800 kilometers from digital we set it up. I was the one who architected, and then number of project managers were working for me and all. So he went to Delhi Metro, you know that. So Delhi Metro has today a driverless metro train. That's all because of the kind of technologies that we are all talking about here. India's startup landscape. How many of you are entrepreneurs here already? Startup guys, startup founders or whatever. I know I met I definitely I should see 4 hands because yesterday I met 4 of them. So when I met 4 of them, the biggest, I would say, summary out of the 4 meetings that I had yesterday from people here is, everybody is scared of entrepreneurship. They don't know what is going to happen. They don't know whether the company will survive or not. Can anybody raise your hands and say that tomorrow your job is guaranteed for the next 5 years? Nobody, right? So there is a risk everywhere. You step out of your house, you don't know whether it will return. So there is a risk in everything. Entrepreneurship, there's a risk. And also it comes with a reward. It's a beautiful thing. Startup, I think you, instead of reporting to somebody, I think you are your own boss. You can do, I think creativity can flow like crazy. It's a great thing. Entrepreneurship, being a entrepreneurship, startup, I think it's the same. I mean, it's just a common word. Almost 60% of engineering graduates unemployed. This is not my survey. Okay? This is a fact. I meet so many people, very well qualified, some extremely good colleges, including IITs, don't have jobs. All of you have good jobs, but what about your children? Or what about your neighbor? Or what about your somebody, whom you know who's just passed out or whatever? I think the answer for all this is entrepreneurship, startups. If anybody wants to be an entrepreneur, now is the time. This is another thing. I am sure all of you are aware of this. This will I look at it positively. I think this will lead to the startup ecosystem developing further. So what is a startup? Okay, so anybody can tell what is a startup? Can you just raise your hand and tell me what is a startup? Yeah, a Bahubali t-shirt, right? Huh? Correct. I think newborn company with a new idea. I think good. I think, I will urge you if you want to be an entrepreneur or a startup person, newborn company with an innovative idea. Add that innovation to your whatever vision that you have. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. Be innovative. Okay? So a startup is an organization formed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. Okay? Please remember, whatever you're doing for business. It's not an NGO, it's not, I said earlier, you're not going to do anything only for happiness. Ultimately, you need to present your balance sheet to your investors or who are your bankers or whatever. So keep an eye on the business part, which means your revenue, profit, loss, whatever, margins, everything. Business is the critical thing. Keep an eye always on the business part. So when you start up, I meet one new startup person every day, which means about 300 plus startup new guys, apart from the repeatable guys. Everybody says that, fantastic. They'll give me a 20-slide presentation, which I cannot understand at all, many times. Keep your idea simple, and execute on that. I think that is so here it says, if you can't explain to a 6-year-old, you don't understand yourself, which means something that you can understand and then convert that into a business idea. I don't know how many of them will continue to be in this list or survive or whatever, but definitely these are some of the global unicorns. India has about 6 unicorns, which are in the $1 billion range. I think it's a great thing, but this list is growing. Maybe some of them will go out and some new ones will come or whatever. Some of the meetings I had, Pinkesh gave you a homework to connect on LinkedIn. I'm giving you a homework. Do a research on some of these sites. Let me ask, how many of you want to be entrepreneurs? At least 30%. I'm sure the other people have their bosses here, so they don't want to raise their hands. But I'm somewhere in your heart, all of you want to be an entrepreneur. That I'm 100% sure about that. Okay? So do this homework. Startup India, in fact, I am also privileged to be in the committee of Startup India. So TIE Bangalore, closest, do research. I already recommended, I was so glad in the morning, I opened my phone. Yesterday I met one of the mentees and he sent me a mail, "Sir, I became a member of TIE Bangalore." That is commitment. You need to show that commitment. That's why I said, if you are serious about entrepreneurship, the journey starts now. Do some research. All I'm asking is do some research. Find out what are the good things. Find out how you can become a member. Find out what is the kind of funding available. There are so many other startup companies. Learn from them. I'm sure your entrepreneurship spirit will go up from like 30% to 80% today. You have the whole Sunday tomorrow. Do some research. And Startup Karnataka, as I told you in the committee, we are the only state government initiative which is giving about 400 crores funding for startups. In fact, and if you connect with me on Facebook, I have so many pictures along with Mr. Kharge, dynamic person. I think, in fact, we have another Elevate 100 coming up. Next month, we are going to invest means this funding is non-returnable, means it is like a grant, which means, sorry? When I said non-returnable, interest level has gone up. So lot of good work happening. Startup in Karnataka is a government initiative, NASSCOM is a government initiative, Startup India is a government initiative. Right from learning the basics to certifying you as a startup person, they have all that. Okay? So I know I'm running out of time. What you should do, a few things I talked about with some of my friends yesterday I met. Connect with people. Network is your net worth. I know many of the software people, they are so much focused, they sit in their cubicle, they think that is the world. Go out and talk to people. I always make it a habit to talk to at least one new person every day, by design or by accident or whatever. Talk to new people, Build your network. Why did Pinkesh tell you that, connect with LinkedIn? That's your network. That is the network I'm talking about. Network is your net worth. Why is Facebook's value so much, some 300 billion or 400 billion? Because they are putting up a network of people. There is nothing more valuable than that. When I joined HCL Hewlett Packard first, it used to be called HCL HP. They told me the first learn, I was just 22, 23 that time, they said, people buy from people. Okay? It's not company trying to sell to another company. One person as an individual buys from another individual. That's the power of network, personal network. Okay? So get a mentor. Mentor, very important. I think it's a great initiative from PMI to set up a mentorship program in the afternoon. Exchange ideas, trigger thoughts, be passionate. Passion. Most of the startups are successful because of innovation and passion of the founders. Steve Jobs is the best example. Understand latest trend, come up with ideas and solutions. Talk to customers. Focus, focus, focus. Let me talk about that focus. I meet so many, prospective founders or budding startup people. Everybody comes up with a great idea which says, I want to be number one in the world. I tell them, boss, you become a number one in MG Road first. Then you can talk about the global. So which means you focus on one particular segment, one particular geographic location, one particular product, then expand. Take one step at a time. Okay? Okay, this I think, we are already running out of time. I'll leave this slide, these slides with the PMI team. But let me talk about this. The most important aspect of all these things, entrepreneurship or innovation, whatever, you need to show your leadership. Leadership is not a rank. It's not about a card. I meet so many CEOs, okay? That what is written on that visiting card is not leadership. Okay? How you demonstrate your leadership, how you deal with the various stakeholders like investors, shareholders, employees, customers, and society. That is leadership. And most important factor, whether you are in a corporate or in a startup or whatever, leadership is the most important thing. Again, this is a full-fledged semester course. I'm just summarizing it in a single slide. Okay, so I will skip all the slides. Okay. When you're, especially in the startup world, many people, when you go to investors, they won't even give you appointments, many of them, because they are all flying high or whatever. They are various good or bad reasons. The people who have, this sort of summarizes, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Ones who innovate are the ones who will really be leaders. Okay, finally, some recommendations. And of course, my coordinates. I'm also on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook. I'm slightly advanced than Pinkesh. He gave only LinkedIn, right? So I'm also on Twitter. So, True North for leadership, Innovator's Dilemma for innovation, leadership, again innovation. I'm telling you, if you're not reading books, make it a habit at least to read a few pages every day, if you're serious about innovation and leadership. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
But yes, may I call upon the host, Praveen, to do the honors. Our own innovation ideas, if we have any, and the whole preparation around it, even the aspect of reading a book. Yeah.